low-cost producer is still the most desired position to have. And effective TPM will bring about a low-cost competitor standard.
I think that all companies will eventually put in some form of TPM because it just makes good common sense.
I believe total productive maintenance is one of several things that's going to help turn industry around in our country. And I think it's going to help turn Miller Brewing Company plants into something more productive than what they already are.
Hello, I'm Bill Quiet with Teletrain. Comments such as those we just heard are coming from an increasing number of businesses who are learning firsthand that total productive maintenance works. TPM, as it's often called, is a system used to manage machinery and equipment, such as that found in manufacturing plants, process industries, commercial buildings, and a variety of other facilities. The goal of TPM is to ensure that the equipment experiences fewer breakdowns, operates smoothly at its design speed, and yields maximum output with minimum product defects. In short, TPM focuses on improving equipment effectiveness. In this program, we will introduce the principles of total productive maintenance and begin to explore their application. We'll examine the cost savings, cost avoidance, and productivity gains which TPM can generate. And we'll hear more from industry-leading companies to learn more about how their TPM efforts work firsthand. But first, we'll see some highlights of a conversation I recently had with two internationally recognized practitioners of total productive maintenance. Bob Williamson joins us from Strategic Work Systems, and Terry Wireman of Wireman and Associates. Together, these gentlemen share some 45 years of maintenance and manufacturing experience, including 15 years of TPM consulting for a client list that includes many Fortune 100 businesses. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good morning.
It's nice to have you here with us.
Great to be here.
Terry, let me address my first question to you. Total productive maintenance may be an unfamiliar term to a portion of our audience. What does it mean?
Well, total productive maintenance may actually be a little bit of a misnomer. People look at the M word in it as maintenance and they think it's a maintenance type of a program. And actually it's everyone being able to focus on getting the maximum uptime or availability out of their equipment, the performance efficiency being as high as it can possibly be, and the best quality product that they can produce.
Bob, let me turn to you for a moment. TPM is a new concept in some businesses, but certainly not to all. To what extent do you see TPM gaining acceptance?
TPM is rapidly gaining acceptance in the United States, in North America, and around the world because it supports the goals of world-class manufacturing. It really fits in with the total quality management, with employee involvement, with just-in-time inventory control system. And TPM is really that fourth element of world-class manufacturing because it's the only one that really focuses on improving equipment effectiveness with high levels of employee involvement.
You use the term world-class manufacturing. What do you mean by that?
There's a lot of different definitions for world-class manufacturing, and I think basically it's having a work system that's approaching things in a very environmentally sound, safe manner, finding ways to meet your customers' expectations of quality, price, delivery, and service. It is that weaving together of just-in-time total quality and employee involvement with TPM.
We should mention that some businesses have established very successful TPM work cultures and have never labeled them TPM. Others have TPM as part of a larger whole, such as high-performing work systems or even total productive manufacturing. The point is, it's not what you call it that's important. What counts are the methods you use and the results you get. We can't stress enough that the aim of TPM is to improve overall equipment effectiveness, not just to implement TPM. That's where the business rewards lie. Before we proceed further, let's establish more clearly what we mean by equipment effectiveness. Overall equipment effectiveness, and I'll use the abbreviation OEE, is a simple mathematical profile of equipment performance. It's based on a theoretically perfect score of 100 in three categories: availability, performance, and quality. Availability refers to the percentage of time that equipment is actually up and running. Obviously, breakdowns detract from availability, but setup time and the time required to change from one production run to the next also steals valuable production time. The second category of OEE is performance. If equipment is operating but not at its full design speed or output capacity, efficiency is reduced. Minor stops and idling further reduce performance efficiency. The last category is quality. You certainly would not want to ship products which don't meet specifications, so we have to consider defects when we calculate equipment effectiveness. Overall equipment effectiveness, then, is the percentage of time that equipment is operating at design speed or output capacity and turning out acceptable product. The focus of TPM is to continually improve availability, performance, and rate of quality.
One of the things that we try and do with TPM when we teach it in our plant is we try and tell folks that, there's probably 100 books that you could read. There's probably 500 companies that I could give you the phone numbers to call, and the definition is going to be different no matter where you go. So really, you have to look at TPM, understand what it can do for you, where you want to focus your efforts, and then basically that becomes what TPM is in your company.
TPM is defined in a variety of ways, but people and equipment are the most basic parts of productivity improvement. So TPM stresses the importance of people interacting with each other and with their equipment. However, it is important to understand that TPM is not a maintenance department program. Total productive maintenance is a way of blending a variety of improvement activities to focus on overall equipment effectiveness. The most common definitions of TPM build on 5 improvement activities, which are sometimes referred to as key elements or pillars. Although you will find slightly different versions of the key elements in different sources of TPM information, they generally focus on the following points. Improve equipment effectiveness by eliminating the major causes of loss. Involve operators in the daily maintenance of their equipment. Improve maintenance efficiency and effectiveness. Conduct training to improve the skills of all people involved with the equipment. And last, ensure early equipment management and maintenance prevention. Now, it may be helpful to illustrate these key elements of TPM by drawing a comparison to something we're all familiar with, our personal car or truck. For example, the first element, improve equipment effectiveness by targeting major losses. In terms of a car, we would focus on lost availability, such as engine failure or other periods of unplanned downtime. Performance losses would include the loss of pulling power or speed, and quality losses could include a rough ride or poor handling. In the process of correcting such problems, we make our car more effective, more efficient, and more economical. The same applies to the equipment found in factories, utilities, and elsewhere. The second key element is to involve operators in daily maintenance. We all know people who change their own oil, wash their car on Saturday afternoon, check the tires, the routine stuff. Now, not only are they saving money, but don't their cars seem to last longer and just seem more reliable? When more extensive maintenance is required, the car goes into a repair facility with special tools, diagnostic equipment, detailed information, and skilled mechanics. That's the third key element, effective and efficient maintenance. There's an added advantage as well. The mechanic who does the work will probably appreciate getting to work on a well-maintained vehicle, as opposed to a vehicle with an assortment of problems stemming from neglect. The operator and the mechanic very likely will begin to share an interest in the car and may even take pride in seeing how long they can keep it in top condition. But on the other hand, if you don't know how to check the oil, you're just waiting for an expensive, inconvenient breakdown to happen. And if you don't check tire pressures, you're hurting performance and wearing out your tires. That's where the fourth key element comes in, training. No one is born knowing how to maintain a car. We all have to learn. Whether it's the operator, a mechanic, a service writer, or a dealer, learning is essential. Which brings us to the fifth and last key element, maintenance, prevention, design. New cars are simply more reliable than they were several years ago because of improvements in design, so less breakdown maintenance is required. Routine maintenance checks are quick and simple for the operator to perform. In some cases, a visual inspection is all that's required. New cars also come with a service schedule already laid out. If it's followed, minor deficiencies can be corrected before they create real problems. But the car isn't designed just for maintenance. It's designed for operation as well. Controls are placed where they are easiest to reach, and gauges are designed to read quickly. And over the years, systems have been added to assist the driver with the operation of the vehicle. Everything about the car, its design, the way it's operated, and the way it's maintained, should be as efficient and economical as possible. It all adds up to equipment effectiveness. Here's an example of high-performance equipment that can only stay competitive if a team of highly committed people are constantly working to improve it. The pit crew doesn't own the race car, but they treat it like they do because they know they're a vital part of the race team. In an industrial setting, the development of the same sense of ownership is fundamental to TPM. In those locations where TPM is most successful and most beneficial to the company, operators, maintenance technicians, engineers, and a variety of others work together to continuously improve equipment effectiveness. To develop that level of cooperation and sense of shared ownership, TPM requires high levels of employee involvement. Now, many companies, including some who have never heard of TPM, have come to realize the potential benefits of employee involvement and are seeking to develop it. In many cases, TPM provides a way to accelerate the involvement effort. Suppose a company has been striving for greater levels of employee involvement, but not as part of a TPM effort. Would initiating TPM conflict with what they've already been doing?
Oh, absolutely not, Bill. I use the example of building a wall. The individual improvement activities are the building blocks. They might include maintenance activities such as preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance, or even lubrication programs. You've got blocks of human resource activities such as work team development, multi-skill training, or pay for applied skills. There's also blocks in high-performance initiatives such as visual control systems, quick changeover, or even sharing business information. TPM is not a single block in this wall, but rather the cement that bonds together all of these improvement building blocks into a whole equipment improvement process with the overall goal of improving equipment effectiveness. The more blocks in this wall that the company has in place, the further along they are towards a TPM work culture.
Bob, you raise an important point. In my experience, many companies begin to show significant results within the first few months of beginning TPM activities. Early successes tend to generate credibility and support for TPM, and that support tends to breed more success. It's something of a ripple effect.
A successful TPM initiative requires planning. Often what is successful in one company may not be successful in another. TPM is not a cookbook program. It just doesn't happen the same way every time. The factors that can and will affect the success of a TPM effort include the condition of equipment, the existing work culture, the current levels of equipment management and maintenance effectiveness. In other words, if a business wants to see the full benefits of TPM, it would be wise to take a good look at itself. It can then tailor its initial efforts appropriately.
And I think what we find when we look at successful TPM environments is unless the people support it, TPM really can't be successful. It all comes from the people involvement. And when we look at successful TPM organizations, we typically find that everybody in the organization, in the pilot area or in the total plant, if TPM has gone that far, is really committed to three primary philosophies or concepts. And the first one is being committed to improving equipment effectiveness. Everybody in the pilot area or the organization embracing TPM must value that their equipment can perform better than it's currently performing. The second belief or concept that we see in successful TPM companies is involving operators in the daily maintenance of their equipment. Operators behaving like they own the equipment. And third, small, equipment-centered, natural work groups are essential to TPM.
What I would say to a fellow plant manager if they were to ask me, what about this TPM concept? Is it really working? How has it worked at Cooper River? I will start by saying that, first of all, I am a believer in it. The concept has demonstrated some things to me in terms of being able to effectively run a manufacturing operation out there. It's just not centered all into maintenance, but it encompasses all of manufacturing. It's first got to start with your personal commitment as a leader. You first must drive the stake in the ground to say, hey, I'm committed, and you got to demonstrate that. And you got to demonstrate it by way of being a part of the process early on?
This is a United Auto Workers Local 2308. We fall under the jurisdiction of the International UAW out of Detroit. So far, we're the most productive brewery in the Miller chain, and I think we owe a lot of that to our total productive maintenance. In this plan, it's long-term employment stability, not necessarily job stability, but employment stability. By all working together and being the most productive plant by virtue of the way we do business guarantees the individuals the opportunity to work here for 20, 30 years, however many years they want to work.
Why haven't businesses been taking this approach all along?
Well, Bill, for one thing, the TPM approach is only known to a few companies here since the mid-1980s. Despite its roots in Japanese manufacturing in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and despite its roots in American-style preventive maintenance, TPM is just recently being discovered. But a more important reason, I believe, that has to do with this mindset or an attitude that many companies have about maintenance. Maintenance has often been seen as a pure overhead expense, not as a necessary contributor to improving profits or quality.
I think you're right in that maintenance is considered a stepchild, particularly in like a large company. Maintenance is one of those things that typically doesn't ever get called unless you need them. They're not seen as value added to the process. I think some of that's beginning to change a little bit as far as a perception. It's slow. A lot of it's because we don't have good measurement systems that can help show that maintenance does contribute to the bottom line, or in other words, if you save expense dollars, it does contribute to the bottom line.
And on that note, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your unique knowledge of TPM. And thank you for joining us as well.